If you notice, we have a number of persons at the head table who carry different responsibilities. And today, we are here to give you, the public, a comprehensive update on Vincy Mass for this year. As we all know, the CDC is charged with the responsibility for organizing and executing the festival. And maybe I should repeat that. The CDC is charged with the responsibility for organizing and executing the festival. And of course, from time to time, we are going to be hearing rumors outside, etc., etc. So let us take in our speakers this morning as they make their presentations. Let us ask the questions that you need to have clarified so that when we leave this room, we will all be in a better place where Vincy Mass 2023 is concerned. As usual, our first presentation would come from none other than our chairman, Mr. Ricky Adams. Ricky.
And that, of course, includes the rurals who are also going to be represented this morning, members of the media on whom we rely to get our message out to the general population, persons listening to us all over the world. Okay, welcome to Fun City, New York, who just joined the broadcast. Members of the media, as I said, persons listening to us and looking at us all over. Good morning and welcome to our Vincy Mass 2023 press conference. I got a very lukewarm applause when I was announced this morning. I don't know if it's been so long that we've forgotten how to really welcome people to the podium. So I'm gonna say let's get some energy in the room, because guess what? Vincy Mass is back. Last year, I don't think it's any secret, we had a really tough year. We were coming out of, and we've repeated this so often, we were coming out of all of the challenges that we had. And we had while we attempted to have a full carnival, we had a scaled back full carnival where we didn't have a lot of the sizes of the representations from the components that we normally would have. In fact, there were some of the components that opted to go to a showcase type rather than a competitive type Vincy Mass. And so we welcome this year the return of the full competitive aspect of Vincy Mass. We welcome the return of the full slate of rurals of Vincy Mass. We welcome the return of a lot of our sponsors who opted to sit out last year for various reasons. And we welcome back to our shores the numbers of persons who would come to Vincy Mass normally. There's a lot of good news and a lot of excitement around Vincy Mass this year. And one of the things that is off the get-go very exciting for us is that we have significantly improved the air access to St. Vincent and the Grenadines in 2023. We're very excited about the number of airlines coming in with increased schedules. Hopefully we can make some announcements in the very near future about partnership with some of those airlines. But certainly it augurs well for persons wishing to come to experience what has become the buzzword around the Caribbean, the energy of Vincy Mass. We have gone outside of St. Vincent and we've represented very well, even through the challenging times. We've had a number of our artists doing well on the international soca scene. And so people are excited about this thing called Vincy Mass, for which there was a number of challenges for years getting here. So we've solved that challenge. I think the challenge that we're having now is actually hotel room stock, because we've been advised that a number of the hotels are already sold out. So we're from our end trying to facilitate getting the information out. And Cancardio Radio has just joined us. So we say welcome to them also. So as I said, we're looking to partner with a number of airlines. We're going to see how we can optimize the hotel stock available in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I've been advised that we can announce now that, and I've just been handed this, we can announce now that we are going to officially partner with Caribbean Airlines CAL as a carrier for Vincy Mass. As you recognize, we work a lot of times behind the scenes, and sometimes it's when we get the opportunities to make certain announcements that we do that. But this has been something that we've been working on for quite a while, and I'm really happy to welcome Cal on board. And I know that augurs well for us getting additional airlift out of the eastern seaboard of Canada and the Caribbean. On that note, as I said, we had some reductions in our sponsorship levels last year. We're happy that in discussions, a lot of the sponsors are coming back on board and coming back on board at the levels at which they used to be. Some are even coming on board at higher levels than they were before. So again, I want to say a special thanks to those sponsors. I want to say thanks in advance to the sponsors that we're going to be approaching, because we've sent out a number of letters. We're following up on that. And we're very hopeful that in the next couple of weeks, by the time we get to our launch, you would see some new faces on board, and you would see some faces on board who've been our traditional friends and partners over the years, who are back with us at the levels that they were. We keep focusing and saying a lot about the sponsors. And I think one of the things to recognize is that Vincy Mass is easily a $4 million event. We budget it at roughly $3.5 million. But that doesn't even take into account a lot of the sponsorship we get in kind from people that help us to get over the hurdles that we need to. And so it is very important that folks understand that the Vincy Mass product is not a one-off show. It is something that takes an entire year to plan. When you hear from the components a little bit later on, you'll realize that a lot of the components have been in the mass camps and in the studios and so for months already, leading up to Vincy Mass. And the role of the CDC is not, as some people would like to believe, to put on 6 or 7 or 8 shows during the Vincy Mass period. The role of the CDC is to facilitate the entire Vincy Mass coming together as something of which all Vincentians can be proud. And so therefore, a lot of work goes in during the lull years on the ground here in St. Vincent to marketing. A lot of work goes into marketing Vincy Mass outside of our shores to ensure that when our airlift is established and our hotel capacity is established, that there are people who are willing and able to come into St. Vincent and the Grenadines and enjoy the energy and the warmth of our people. So I'm just going to touch a little bit on the shows. I'm not going to go into too much detail because we have all the components here to tell you their individual plans and stories. But there are a couple of things that are going to be different this year. The launch, as you would have seen in a press release that would have gone out last week, the launch is going to be a little bit different again this year, in that we're going to be hosting the early part, the daytime part of the launch at the Victoria Park in an event called Fun City, where we are catering for all members of the family to come in. We have games for the youngsters. We have the games for the young at heart. And those of us who can't really move far from a table, so we're not going to try to run or ride or anything like that, but we can still sit down and have fun. And that is going to be an all-day event. And then in the evening, we get into the traditional showcase of our mass and our pan and our Vincy music, etc. We'll have some of that during the day, of course, but so it's basically a 2-part event that's happening in the Victoria Park. We have our caravans as usual coming in. We want to say thanks to those who are facilitating the caravans getting here. So we're anticipating that, again, this will be a nice intro into Vincy Mass 2023. A couple of the other major things that are going to be happening this year are significant things. are a decoupling of the raga soca and the power soca competitions. We have had feedback over the years that the Soca Monarch competition is entirely too long an event. And we have heard persons who've made those comments, and we've taken that feedback on board. We've also heard from a lot of the artists who, if you're in all three competitions, have to sing raga soca, and then you get, sometimes if you're lucky, you're in position number 13 in power soca. So sometimes you're singing at 4 o'clock in the morning. And if you're somebody who crosses all the genres of the calypso fraternity, you can then end up in the calypso monarch on the very same evening. And so we thought, and we had some discussion with our artists, we thought that taking the raga soca and moving it to the Friday night, coupling it with the Evo, will allow for the artists, and I see some confused looks, but we'll address that in a little bit, will allow for the artists to be able to spread out their performances over 3 nights, rather than having two performances in one night or 3 performances in literally the space of about 24 hours. So we had some discussion, we got some good feedback on it, and we think that that is the way to go. The other thing that it does, I don't know, there are a lot of people out there who come for the Soca Monarch, but I distinctly remember that when Funky Business was performed, which eventually won the Raga Soca Monarch that year, there was hardly anybody in Victoria Park, because a lot of people bounce into Park 10:30, 11, because a lot of people come for the power. And so therefore, it allows us to take the Raga Soca into a space where it can stand on its own. It attracts some of its own audience, some of its own market, and it allows then the power soca to be able to focus on that high energy event, which we know is the Soca Monarch of Vincy. I'm sure there will be a lot of questions on the rurals, and so I'm going to preempt some of that discussion by saying we heard, and as it's popular to say, we feel the pain of the promoters and the rural carnivals, where the limitations on venues has come. We are in the process of getting some clarity in terms of what specifically are and are not allowed at what particular venues. Because we know a lot of the rurals have beauty pageants, and beauty pageants are not classified as fetes. That may be fairly straightforward. Where we can have some challenges is the determination of if there's a calypso show, what is that considered to be? So we're seeking some clarity on that, but in the interim, you'll hear from the rural coordinator where we're going ahead with planning the rurals. And we've seen a number of private promoters already making adjustments in terms of their venues. There was a fairly big level of excitement when it was announced that the Annesvale playing field would not be available. In fact, the CDC was accused of trying to sabotage particular people by not making the Annesvale playing field available. It hurts my heart, but I have to say, if we want to use the Annesvale playing field, we have to write for permission to use it. We have no control over the Annesvale playing field. So let me disavow everybody of the notion that the CDC took away the Annesvale playing field from anybody. We don't have control over the Annesvale playing field. The National Lotteries, who's in charge of the Victoria Park, graciously gives us the access to the Victoria Park during Carnival, but that is the only space over which we have a level of control during Carnival. So I just wanted to get that out there. But I've seen a number of promoters who were also affected by the unavailability of the Annesvale playing field. I've seen them making alternative adjustments. So I've seen events advertised to take place in other spaces, events that would have ordinarily taken place in the Annisville area. On the issue of promoters, as I mentioned that, the CDC is not here to fight with any promoter. We have no vested interest in promoters not having events. We've said it before. In fact, when Ezzy and I were on Synergy TV in Trinidad, we said that people come to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and if they come for a week, if they come Wednesday to Wednesday, people want to do 14, 21 events in that week. The CDC does not put on 14 and 21 events in the carnival week. And so therefore, it is important for us as a nation to recognize that everybody has a part to play. There are some people who will come and they will want to play mass. They may want to go diving. They may want to go to the Grenadines. They may want to go to the all-inclusive fest. They may want to do the La Soufrière Nature Trail, etc. Everybody has a part to play. And the CDC has no vested interest in trying to kill everybody to say, well, we're going to put on 4 shows for Carnival. And so that is all that should happen. So we really think that it's important that we work with the private promoters and that the private promoters work with the CDC to ensure that we're selling this thing as a package of Vincy Mass. Vincy Mass is a package. Vincy Mass is a cultural expression of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Vincy Mass is not 10 CDC events. All right, so I think again, let's get it out there that is where our mind space is. We are not in the business of trying to kill or tamp down private promoters during the period of Vincy Mass. And in fact, we have had discussions with private promoters. How can we work together to promote Vincy Mass? Because at the end of it, the more people who come to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the better we all do. And the better we all do, not only as CDC and the private promoters, but the better we all do as a nation. Because at the end of it, I keep stressing, Vincy Mass is about St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Vincentian culture. So I think that is something that it is important that we get out of the way. As usual, we tout that Vincy Mass remains one of the safest carnivals around, and we give thanks to the security forces for working with us from the get-go. We actually have a member of the security forces sitting on the CDC board who works with us from the very initial planning stages so that they are aware of what we are doing and we are aware of the concerns and considerations that the security forces will have, because that is something about Vincy Mass that, interestingly, as we talk about the security aspect of it, Trinidad and Tobago this year attempted to introduce a no bottle policy. Vincy Mass has had a no bottle policy for way in excess of 10 years. So while sometimes the narrative is that we see what other people do and we try to copy them, sometimes we lead and other people see what we do and also learn from us. So let us not belittle ourselves into thinking that all we can do is copy and replicate what other people do. Sometimes what we do is very important in setting the stage for what other folks do, right? So I think one of the other messages I want to get out there, I have a telephone number that is easily available. I don't think there's anybody who says that they try to reach me and they can't. Dale knows that whenever he calls me, I stop. And if I can't take the call right then, I'll call back, right? So my telephone number is out there. The CDC has a telephone number. The CDC has an email. The CDC has social media accounts, etc. There are a lot of brilliant Vincentians with wonderful ideas. There are a lot of experts on Vincy Mass in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. If you have a wonderful idea that you want to share with the CDC, reach out to the CDC. If you have a wonderful idea on which you want likes and shares, then put it on social media. And I think if you genuinely want to effect change, if you genuinely have good ideas that you want to get, the CDC is always ready and willing to listen. But we are not going to be going on social media, hunting for, or on the media, for any one of the media, hunting for people who throwing ideas out there and trying to say, well, this is my great idea, and CDC would never adopt it. So that CDC would then come to try to adopt it for you to then say, well, you see, this was my great idea that CDC didn't want to adopt, but I forced them to adopt it because I went on social media. We don't operate that way. I don't think there's any serious business that operates that way. So I'm saying, if you have great ideas, bring them to us. We welcome to embrace all of that, because we don't pretend again to have all the brains and all the knowledge of what is Vincy Mas and what can be Vincy Mas. But we are charged with the difficult position of trying to ensure that Vincy Mas continues to grow within the limited budget that we still have, which we're fighting to increase all the time. But we believe that this year, if all goes well, we can have a fantastic Vincy Mas with a lot of people coming home and a lot of people coming to understand and enjoy the energy of Vincy Mas. And that is why I implore all of you, call your friends, call your neighbors, send out the post. When you cussing me, put the dates for Vincy Mas on at one time so that we can help to get the message out while you're cussing me, which of course we'll hear all the details on the dates and everything like that. But send the message out that there's this wonderful thing called Vincy Mas, and everybody you know, hold somebody's hand. You have air access now. We have hotels, rooms, some limited hotel rooms still available. We have the bands that are doing really well. A lot of them that are out of the gates are selling costumes like they haven't sold before. And let us all go to the world and say, come and see why Vincy Mas remains the hottest carnival in the Caribbean. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And I did notice the applause. A lot more thunderous after you would have finished. And like the chairman said, Vincy Mas doesn't begin when we come to our first press conference. There's that period leading up to it where you plan and then you market what you plan. And this morning we have Mr. Ezzy Roberts, who is our Marketing and Development Officer, to give us an update on this aspect of Carnival. Let us welcome Ezzy.
Members of the head table, Chairman, Deputy Chairman, CEO, Representative for Pan Mas Calypso, all from the media, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, let me take this opportunity to remind all of the dates for Vincy Mas 2023, June 30th to July 11th. I'd like to start with that. The marketing of Vincy Mas is an important tool for the promotion of Vincy Mas in general and to ensure that we have successful carnival every year. So we normally embark on a number of initiatives through various media and various activities and so on, which we use to promote the festival. For example, Union Island Easterval Festival is one such activity where we would execute a number of events. And this year we were able to cover 4 full promotions and 2 additional events that we just had branding presence. The Union Island Easterval activities normally attract a number of locals from mainland and the rest of the Grenadines, along with returning nationals from Union Island and visitors from abroad. So it's an ideal place for the marketing of Vincy Mas. We're looking at the boosting of social media presence with the inclusion of local social media influencers. And you will be seeing more vlogs, social media content, and use of email boards, etc. within a very soon time. Traditional media, we will continue to strengthen our presence with the use of traditional media advertising via radio, television, and newspapers. We have placed a half-page color advertisement in the January 23 edition of the SVG Hotel and Tourism Association Internal magazine. 3,000 copies of this magazine is usually printed and disseminated to hotels, guest houses, etc., and some are usually sent to consulate offices overseas. We are currently in negotiation with the authorities at AIA for placement of Vincy Mass advertising at the airport. This will benefit not just Vincy Mass 2023, but also Vincy Mass 2024. As we move to the latter part of 2023, we'll commence the advertising of Vincy Mass 2024 using those allotted spaces. Regional and international marketing. During Trinidad Carnival 2023, we did a number of promotions. These include a promotional package with Synergy TV, which include the playing of local music videos, interviews on Breaking Down morning program, and the execution of promotions at a booth on Aripita Avenue, which was carried live on Carnival Monday and Tuesday, including interviews during such time, which were carried live. Other media opportunities also existed in Trinidad and Tobago, and prior to us going to Trinidad, we had made arrangements for a number of interviews to be done, radio, television, newspapers, etc. And we were able to cover, apart from Synergy, 3 other television stations and 6 radio stations, apart from newspapers, which some carried full-page articles and Vincy Mass. Apart from the newspapers and the media coverage that we got, we were able to execute a promotion at Brunch and Soca. This was the first time that this event, organized by Vincy, was held in Trinidad and Tobago. And we would like to commend Hoover and his team for putting together that event. And it was indeed a successful event. And I know he's already making plans for his 2024 production in Trinidad and Tobago. We would like to thank him for affording Vincy Mass the opportunity to advertise and promote Vincy Mass at the event. And he has made it clear that he is making his platform available wherever we are doing promotion, that he is having an event that we are free to come and do our promotion. So we'd like to thank him for this. Apart from the publications and the coverage of Brunch and Soca, long after we left Trinidad and Tobago, we continue to get mileage from our activities in Trinidad and Tobago. We had articles carried on a number of media outlets. Outside of Trinidad and Tobago, including Jamaica, Cayman Islands, the USA, Canada, and England. Barbados. Following our promotions in Trinidad and Tobago, we made a stop in Barbados, where a number of interviews were also done and stories were published in a number of media outlets in Barbados. Grenada, in 2022, we commenced an exchange program with Spice Mass Corporation. A team of persons from that organization and persons from the Grenada Tourism Authority visited St. Vincent, came to Vincy Mass, were hosted by the CDC, and in return, persons from St. Vincent, from Vincy Mass, went to Spice Mass 2022. As part of the exchange, we had Rooney J from Grenada performing as a guest artist at our Soca Monarch, and in return, we had Fireman performing at their Soca Monarch, and he also did a performance at the Panorama. We are hoping to continue this relationship with Spice Mass going into 2023 and possibly 2024. A number of opportunities and options also exist for us to do Vincy Mass promotions at Baltimore Carnival, New York Vincy Day Picnic, Toronto Picnic, in England at Notting Hill Carnival, etc. These opportunities are there. We are working on the possibilities, and we will make announcements once we're able to get them materialized. Also via social media, the social media platform Trini Jungle Juice, they have reached out to us, expressing interest in being in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and these are possibilities that we have available to us. Hoover Marketing Group, I mentioned Hoover a while ago, and I spoke about Brunch and Soak and thank him for accommodating us in his event in Trinidad and Tobago. And Hoover Marketing Group, along with ANN News Network, have confirmed their hosting of Bajan Tube. This entity similarly has a big following on social media, and they will be covering various events while in St. Vincent and the Grenadines for Vincy Mass 2023. And we'd like to thank the entities for making this platform available for the promotion of Vincy Mass. Let me appeal to each and every Vincentian to play their part in the promotion of Vincy Mass by inviting persons to our shows for the festival. I personally would like to invite one and all, locally, regionally, and internationally, to visit St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And again, the dates of Vincy Mass this year, June 30th to July 11th. We're asking you to come, be a part of Vincy Mass, and I'm sure at the end of the festival, you'll be able to go back to your various destinations and become an ambassador for what we call the hottest carnival in the Caribbean. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ezzy. Right, so we kick off the actual carnival from the 30th of June. But we launch in Vincy Mass within 2 weeks' time, 6th of May. And then after that, probably one of the better parts of carnival is when we hit the rurals, where you go from right up north to right up north. I was going to make a joke, but I changed my mind there. I'm going to get myself in trouble. I ain't going to make that joke. He had to even know what I'm talking about. Right? And with us this morning, we have our Deputy Chairman, Mr. Daylan Morris, and he's going to bring us up to date on what has been happening in relation to the planning and a bit about the execution of our rural events.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Chairman, Ricky Adams, CEO, Ashford Wood, Marketing and Development Officer, Eswart Roberts, chairpersons of the various components, Kaba, Bennett, Calypso, Run the Small, Pan, Yulopan Movement, and Mr. Raggy of the CBI, Carnival Bands Incorporated. I want to thank everyone from the media for being present, as was mentioned before. And I want to encourage all to come out and cover as many of the rural events as possible. I also want to encourage the sponsors in these communities to come on board and to assist us in some great productions for 2023 and beyond. We have met several times with the chairpersons of the rural committees, and we've had some fruitful discussions. One of those discussions were the aspect of security and the high cost which rurals have been incurring in that aspect. The security forces have worked with us well over the past, and we encourage them to continue. And we're going to continue having discussions with them to see how we can have a reduction in the fees, if possible, and to continue the high level of security that we do experience in these rural events. The police is an essential part because security, when persons feel safe, they come out and they participate in the events. The problem with parking and traffic disruptions is also an important part that the police has to assist, and they have been doing so over the years. So we're going to encourage them to continue to lend us the support that we're looking at and looking for. So I'd like to, I know the CEO and said a while ago, and the marketing officer said that carnival begins in June. But I want to say it begins right after the launch on the 6th and into the rurals as a build-up. And as the CEO mentioned, it's the better part of the carnival for some, because not everybody wants to come into Kingston for the culmination of of Vincy Mass. So I'm going to just outline slowly the dates for the different rural events. I'll have a copy of the schedule so I can give to you guys later. But for the listening public and those who are looking at VC Free, on Saturday 29th April, Pitani Mass, Carnival Lunch, and First Water. On Saturday 13th May. No, sorry. Friday the 5th of May, Central Leeward Lunch and Fish Fest. Saturday, May 13th, St. George's Carnival Lunch. And that is after the Windward Carnival, which is on the 12th of May, sorry, on the Friday. So after the dates are sort of mixed up here. They're not in any order, but Sunday the 7th of May, North Leeward Lunch, that's right after the launch of Vincy Mass. And then the next area would be the Saturday the 20th of May, North Leeward Wet Fest. Also on Saturday, May 20th, St. George's Wet Fest. So we're having two rurals having activities on that said day. Friday 26th May, St. George's, Miss St. George's Pageant. Friday 26th May, South Leeward Launching with a Fish Fest. Saturday, May 27th, St. George's Calypso, Soca, and Pan. So we see here the elements, the components. Saturday 27th May as well, St. George's Juve and Street Party. So that is the big weekend for the St. George's. Saturday 27th May, Windward Carnival Soca Monarch. Saturday 27th May, North Leeward Kiddies Carnival. So on that Saturday, we're having several events in the different rurals. The persons who are living closer to which particular area at least would have events where they can participate. Sunday 28th May, North Leeward Tropical Paradise, all-inclusive fete. Sunday 28th May, St. George's Kiddies Carnival. So we see here the kids are part of the rural events as well, because we have to ensure that the youths grow up with the culture and participate from an early age. Sunday 28th, Pitani Second Water. Friday 2nd June, South Leeward Pan and Calypso. So here again we see elements of the components. Saturday 3rd June, Windward Carnival, Kids Bonanza. Again, we're gonna have kids being a part of our events. Sunday 4th June, South Leeward Street Jump Up and Soca Monarch. Friday 9th June, Central Leeward Carnival Cool Down. Saturday 10th June, North Leeward Soca Monarch. Friday 16th June, Pitani, Miss Pitani Pageant. Friday 6th June, North Leeward, Miss North Leeward Pageant. Saturday 17th, Pitani, Juve and Street Jump Up. Saturday 17th, North Leeward, Juve and Street Jump Up. So Pitani and North Leeward on the same day, Saturday 17th of June. Sunday 18th June, North Leeward Carnival Cool Down. On the 23rd of June, which is the following week, Windward Carnival, Miss Windward Pageant. 24th, Saturday the 24th June, would also be the Juve Street Jump Up and Color Fete. 22nd July, Canoan, Miss Carnival Village. Carnival Village. Sunday, 23rd July, Canoan again, Kiddies Carnival. Thursday, July 27th, Canoan, Night Mass. Friday, 28th July, Canoan, Baywatch. Saturday, 29th, Canoan, Soca 360. Sunday, 30th, Canoan, Miss Rural SPG. Monday, 31st July, Canoan, Swap, Soca Water and Powder. Tuesday, 1st August, Canoan, Jove and Street Party. We have yet to decide on the dates for Beckway because they have been having some challenges in getting the tents and other stuff for their events. So they're asking for us to consider giving them a space just after the Vincy Mass so that they can have their events and other persons could come to support them. So that's all we have for now. If anything, I'll get back to you guys later. And if any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dale, for that comprehensive overview as to what is taking place where the rurals are concerned. And I think it is very enlightening to hear the different activities that the rurals are having. Because at one time we were accused of just supporting a wet fet and a jump up. You know, it's good to hear when the activities like Fish Fest, Kiddies Carnival, the Calypso Soak and the Pan, which tells us that the CDC would have been meeting with the rurals and we have been encouraging them to bring back those elements of carnival into their organizing. And they have been working with us in terms of getting that in place. So once again, let me thank Dale for giving us a comprehensive overview. I've been around a long time in this business. And there was a time when you sit down in a meeting at board level with the components. Or when you sit down around the table to negotiate with the components, it was pure bacchanal. It was always a fight. And I've seen where CDC and the components, Pan, Mass of Calypso, have worked closely together to get rid of what we used to refer to as this adversarial relationship. And we have gotten to the point now where we are able to sit down like mature people, like mature components, and work out whatever difficulties we might have. Because at the end of the day, we realize that it is one Vincy Mass. And like the chairman rightfully said, at the end of the day, we are competing for the buck with a whole load of other carnivals throughout the region. Hey, but Jamaica Carnival, no. Right? Jamaica would have thought that. And as such, it is a situation where we all have to work together. And this morning, we have the three components here with us. Pan, Mass, Calypso, to tell us what they have been doing in terms of their preparation for the festival. We're going to bring the smallest man first. So we will invite Randy to come up and speak on Pan.
Thank you, Mr. Ashford Wood. And please allow me to adopt the protocol. Good morning. I greet you on the behalf of the entire Yulopan movement and the Steel Pan fraternity. First, we would love to say a major thank you to all our sponsors who have supported all our events and programs, pre and post COVID-19. To our supporters, members, parents, and players, thank you for being committed and dedicated to the task of spreading the joy and love of this noble art form. There has been long-standing recognition and agreement in all quarters that the steel pan is important to Vincy culture. It is further undisputed that the steel pan industry is a vital component of Vincy Mass. The Yolo Pan movement has been hosting a series of events and activities to help with the awareness, not only for the art form, but to create some economic activities for our member bands and our players. These events are geared towards building a larger fan base and clientele for our Super Bowl events, Junior Panorama and Steel and Glitter. On Sunday, May 28th, we will host our annual Panorama launch at the Victoria Park lawn from 8 p.m. Ivory Soiree is the ultimate all-white steel pan fete, featuring all of the top steel orchestras in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, table and bar services, trendy decor, a set design like no other, guest performances by top DJs, artists, fire eaters, rhythm sections, and our sister component, the Carnival Bands Incorporated, featuring mass. There will be a venue transformation along with giveaways and tokens from the Yolopan movement. Patrons can win tickets to Junior Panorama and Steel and Glitter at Ivory Soiree. Tickets will start at $30. The Panorama launch will kickstart our full marketing campaign for panoramas. Persons can follow our social media platforms at the Yolopan movement, pop-up steel pan performances at different locations throughout St. Vincent and the Grenadines, our vlogs, flyers, panyard nights where we go live from different panyards during their panorama rehearsals, and all our online media houses and ticket giveaways on some of your popular radio stations. We are confident that we will see an increase at the Victoria Park come July 2nd, Junior Panorama, and July 6th at Steel and Glitter. We will bring more information on Panorama at a later date as we are planning a media conference where bands will select their playing position, among other things. As we move forward, we are looking at avenues for persons who really don't like Panorama but want to be at the event. We will look at a way to include them and win their hearts over. For us, it is about the performers, the execution of the music, and the bands. Our bands are committed because PAN is community, and we are prepared to give our audience a special show. The bands have started and they're ready to go. I am kindly asking the business community to support the steel pan art form. We need your support. The steel pan industry is filled with a lot of talented young people who see the pan yard as their home and a place where they can express themselves. But to run and manage a steel orchestra isn't cheap. Our pan players continue to excel in their academics over the years, and we are proud as a fraternity that we can now brag and boast about all our island scholars, cultural ambassadors, and so much more. I would like to take this opportunity to say a major thank you to the board and directors of the CDC for your continued support to the Yolopan movement and the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines for the Pan Against Crime initiative. We have put together our 3-year plan and presented it to the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister of Culture, which is geared towards the holistic development of the art form, and we are getting ready to deliver these plans. I, as the president and a cultural practitioner, will continue to make the call for the steel pan instrument to be the main instrument in our school music program. It is our Caribbean identity. Remember, May 28th, Ivory Soiree, the ultimate all-white steel pan fete at the Victoria Park lawn. July 2nd, Junior Panorama. July 6th, Steel and Glitter. And remember, Juve morning on the road. Have a fantastic day.
We move straight into the presentation from Calypso, and then we have the presentation from Mass.
Members of the head table, members of the first corps, good morning to my listening and viewing audiences. Calypso Missy. The St. Vincent and the Grenadines Calypsonian Association. Let me start by saying how pleased I am when I heard the coordinator of Rural Carnival speaking of the reintroduction of Calypso in the rural activities. It's indeed something worthy of applause. I may be representing Calypso here, but I believe in holistic development. So I want to also applaud and salute your organization for reintroducing Han, and I'm certain there'll be some aspect of math as well. Well done. Calypso. We all know that Calypso has a long, storied history. It came to our shows, African forbearance. And because of that, we must value it. It has to be dear to our heart. We must not value Calypso in pure economic terms. We tend to do that. Calypso is part of us and it must live on. And I applaud the CDC for ensuring that Carnival and Calypso live together. We speak about Vincy Mass. And yes, Vincy Mass, the 30th to 11th, is the culmination of Vincy Mass. Vincy Mass this year, based on what I've heard, starts with the launch of Pertaining. But the official CDC launch is on the 6th of May. What is the Siblings and Grenadines Calypso Association doing to ensure that this year will be a bumper year? Let me say from the outset that in Calypso, it is a labor of love. Believe you me. Persons work and toil in the vineyard. And at the end of the season, the bands get paid, everybody else get paid. But sometimes the Calypsonians are empty-handed. So I take this opportunity to invite all kind-hearted and well-meaning Vincentians, and even those who hear my voice internationally and regionally, support Calypso in whatever way you can. We operate from a standpoint, we don't have all the answers. There's no way that we can sit in a boardroom and believe that we have all the answers for Calypso in Siblings and Grenadines. We don't. So we are inviting persons. Do you have any suggestions? Who know me? Bring them to me. Who know any other Calypsonian, any other administrator? Give them it. We can only be better for your input. The Siblings and Grenadines Calypso Association, we can boast of 5 tents. Those tents are Onto, Graduates, Windward, Upstage Experience, and Dynamites. And I deliberately mention Dynamites last. For this sole reason, we are a proud people because as far as we are concerned, Dynamites is the only Calypso tent in the diaspora. Trinidad do not have a Calypso tent in the diaspora, but we have one named Dynamites, and we are happy with their performance. At the helm of that tent is a 2-time Calypso monarch in the post of Carlos Providence, known as Rejector in the Calypso world, and he is doing a fantastic job. And I urge the persons in Brooklyn and in broader New York to support the Dynamites Calypso tent. The Dynamites Calypso tent this year will start with a launch on the 19th of May. The 19th of May, please support that all my Brooklyn nights. I beg you, I plead with you. You know I like to beg when it comes to Calypso and for the development and betterment of the art form and the extension St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So I'm begging again, I am imploring you. On the 10th, another special date, I like bringing family matters in. On the 10th of June, incident, that's my niece's birthday, Dynamites will have their preliminaries. So the first preliminary will be Dynamites on June 10th. Who will kick off the ball in Siblings and Grenadines? That honor normally falls to Graduates because this starts on a Tuesday. But this year, Anto has taken the bold initiative to start in the month of May. And they will start on the 25th of May. And let me say this to you so that you could, as I go along, there are days that are specified for these tents. So Tuesday, Graduates. Wednesday, Upstage Experience. Thursday, Onto. So when I call the dates, you just apply the date to them. So on the 25th of May, they will kick off the ball. And the central point, the headquarters for Calypso, is the Russell's Auditorium. So the 25th, the 1st, and the 8th, those are their shows. On the 15th, that date is the preliminary, Thursday 15th. Graduates, the 30th, the 1st, the 30th, the 6th, and then the 13th. The 13th and 6th are their shows, the 13th, their preliminaries. Upstage experience, the 31st, the 7th, and the 14th will be their preliminaries. All those shows will be in the Russell's auditorium. We have often said we want to spread Calypso, but we can't just do it by sticking in one venue. Yes, financial constraints has hindered us, but upstage experience, as usual, will be going to Sandy Bay on the 10th of June, Saturday, 10th of June, upstage experience. And then the journey, somebody was going to say, up, some people say up north and some people say down north. Of course, north is always up. So they will travel up north on the leeward coast to give the leeward a taste on Saturday the 17th. That is the dates for the preliminaries. The ladies and the bards and the geranium, you want to call a Calypsonian, they are busy. Many of them are busy in the studio. So expect release of Calypso soon. I know you are eagerly waiting it, and they are there. And I remember I told you, it's a labor of love. So look out for Calypso dropping soon. I was here Friday and Saturday. And when I say here, I mean here in this boardroom. An important activity was taking place. What is that activity, you may ask? That activity was the preliminary judging of Junior Calypso. And Junior Calypso divided into facets, Calypso and Soca. But you'll often hear me say, all of them is Calypso, all embracing Calypso. But you have the subgenre, traditionally, Kaiso, Soca, and Raga Soca. And I'm very, very careful. I take pains to say Raga Soca, because I firmly believe, and I stick with, I have the conviction, that is our creation. And we must push it. We must own it. When you have a baby, you have to mind your baby. Some Calypso say that, mind your baby. Mind your picnic. It's the same thing, mind your picnic. So you must mind your picnic. And I applaud and salute all those at the vanguard and the forefront of ensuring that it stays in our mind, stays with us. Maybe it's a plug here, but I have to applaud and salute a young artist, Chiwali Romis Johnson, whose brainchild has brought us Soca Chroniclers. And I'm taking this at this juncture to appeal to business places. When it comes to you, please support him, because he has a noble intention. So I come back to the juniors, and I was fascinated. And you was fascinated as well. Amongst the judges were two young proponents of Calypso. And it's a Calypso, even though they belong to Power Soca, Soca, Raga Soca, and Calypso, Kaiso. And they ensured that this place was a warm, inviting place. And those children brought all the stops. And I was so pleased that when I look at my summary, 14 entrants from primary school in Calypso, 12 entrants for secondary school in Calypso, and 22 Soca. Sometimes we are very cautious, because when we say things, they are misconstrued. Here's the president talking about like if Kaiser more than Soca. But I'm just making the point. Displeasing to know that 26 persons saw it fit to sing Calypso. And I'm telling you, come on the 4th. You'll hear the names soon, because I'm sorting the CEO would have had that, has that information. You wait on the 4th of June, you'll be knocked off your feet. I'm not going to say much more, because the association intends a press conference to speak more about it. Now, we have a flagship event. In 2018, after a hiatus of 15 years, the executive decided we must reintroduce Queen of Calypso. It came off with a bang in 2018. We had in 2019, and then I don't know if I want to put the Mr. Mistress, but it's the COVID-19. Came in, and because of that, we had the longest reigning Queen of Calypso in Shirley Mackenzie. The long reign probably incentivized her because last year she won the Queen of Calypso again. Last year was a stopgap measure because in our mind, Queen of Calypso must be held during the carnival season. That is the wish of all the artists, that is the wish of all the queens. So this year, Saturday, June 3rd, mark it on your calendars. Put it in the recesses of your mind. But you be reminded from time to time. Saturday, 3rd of June, Queen of Calypso will be back. And that's where its place will be, in June, just before the preliminaries. I want to take this opportunity to thank all who have contributed in any way, in a significant manner, in a small manner, any which way you contributed. We are extremely grateful. As Coffee says, gratitude is a must. And we are indeed grateful. But it's Calypso singing. Calypso is not about singing. Remember on June 3rd, I just spoke about Friday and Saturday. You have to judge Calypso. And we have seen a dwindling pool of judges. But not only a dwindling pool. If you aren't remaining relevant, you must refresh. You must go with the times. And we have made a deliberate, a methodical approach to invite young judges and other judges with the skill set, with the necessary skill set, because we're going to have a judges workshop. But there's something called partnership, relationship. We don't exist by ourselves. There's an ecosystem. And the ecosystem does not only exist in St. Vincent, it exists in the wider Caribbean. So we have reached out to TOCO, that's the Trinidad United Calypso Organization, to partner with them. And we're exploring the possibility of this sending up a team to host a judges workshop. Irrespective to the situation, if by some means there are some challenges, the St. Vincent and Grenadines Calypso Association will host that workshop. So there will be a judges workshop in me. Look out for more news. Right? You always have to be grateful. We are trying to expand Calypso. We hear you, we understand you, you want entertainment. And we have sat down and said, how can we make this thing better? People like humor. But there's a dearth of humorous Calypsos in St. Vincent and Grenadines. So you cannot have a humorous Calypso competition. What's the next best thing to do? Have a most humorous Calypso. Decide which is the most humorous Calypso. At least some persons will look forward to humorous Calypso. Last year, a very good friend of mine by the name Antonio Saunders, let me take this moment here. Maybe it's not appropriate, we're going to do it to extend condolences to her. She lost 2 of her aunts in a matter of 3 days. And she lost her brother suddenly. Her brother was an avid Calypso fan. His name was Richard Abide Saunders. And he especially liked humorous Calypsos. And in honor of him, she contributed the finances last year. And she has just indicated to me via WhatsApp that she would continue to honor her brother by again sponsoring the most humorous Calypso for 2023. Thank you, Antonio. God bless you. Another creative aspect of Calypso is what we call extempo. Getting on your feet and thinking on your feet. And we are going to look for means and ways of reintroducing that in the things. So look forward to that. It may not be confined to only Calypsonians. We are looking for a person in the audience who want to engage you to come and sing on the stage. I know a lot of you just going to sing karaoke. So Same kind of thing. Nobody, it is meant for a laugh and whatever. It's not, you're not going to be ridiculed. So look out for extempo in the Calypso tents. What is there for us on the calendar? As usual, we kickstart Carnival. The official 10 days start on Friday, 30th of June. That is Fantastic Friday, Calypso semifinals. So on that day, that night, you'll be seeing 22 semifinalists. Normally you have the reigning monarch, who will also pair. On Tuesday, the 4th, Junior Calypso. And on the 9th, Sunday night, the Mardi Gras. Last year, we were very excited because for the first time for a long time, the three components share the Sunday night stage. The Mardi Gras, big Sunday in French. And it was indeed fitting because you had the three components being displayed on what used to be the biggest night, the biggest day in Carnival in yesteryear. You heard the chairman. Raka Soca is now twinned with Evo. And Soca, our Power Soca they call, will be Saturday the 8th. I think I've said a mouthful, but I want to remind you. You have your ideas, you have your suggestions, bring them to us. When we ask for sponsorship, whatever you can do in kind, please help us. We cannot do it alone. We need your help. Finally, we'll be reviewing our strategic plan. That's how we introduce Winnie Calypso, because of our strategic plan. So we are going to review it so we could see where we went wrong, where we went right, and how we could develop another strategic plan for the development and promotion of the art form named Calypso. Ladies and gentlemen, continue to spread the gospel of Calypso and Carnival. Same as in the Grenadines Carnival, Vincy, not Vincy, the hottest carnival in the Caribbean. Not only hottest, I dare say, the safest and the most affordable. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kaba. Kaba had to be an encyclopedia. That was a beautiful presentation, not even a piece of paper. I would come up here and have 10 pages of nothing to read from. At this point, I'd like to introduce our Comrade Raggy, who will be giving us an update on what is happening as per Mass.
Members of the table, members of the media, the Carnival Bands Incorporated is currently putting together a document which we began preparing during the dark days of the COVID-19 pandemic. Which gives an overview of the development of Carnival in St. Vincent and the Grenadines after its reintroduction in the year 1879. And in this paper, we will be showing that the progress could be divided into certain eras. The pandemic, COVID-19, ended one era of Carnival in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The era of the brand called Vincy Mass. The year 2023 marks the beginning of a new era. And in terms of the involvement of the Carnival Bands Incorporated in this year's festival, we are not going to be very ambitious. We are going to ensure that we participate in the mass segment and the shows as organized by the Carnival Development Corporation, CDC. During the dark days of the pandemic, we not only took a look back at the mass, but prior to that, we had held a symposium following the 50th anniversary of the changeover from the pre-Lenten Carnival Festival to the June-July Summer Festival. And one of the conclusions we drew coming out of that symposium was the fact that in terms of mass, we had now entered a new stage. Therefore, basically, you could divide a masquerade band into three distinct features. Those features are the traditional. And when we speak of the traditional mass, we simply mean a sailor band, an Indian band, an African presentation. Then we have the contemporary creative masquerade band. The new phase and the third feature of masquerade presentations is the party band. Moving into this new era, we believe that we need to place these three features in three different categories. We would like to encourage the return of the traditional mass, the sailor band, the African band, and of course, the Indian presentations of yesteryear. We'd like to see this particular feature, the traditional return, not only on Mardi Gras, but also as part of Juve. The contemporary creative bands, we have had these presentations from the 1970s going forward. And those bands arose following the heyday of the great historical presentations. There came a time when there was a big increase in fabrics, and the historical presentation used a lot of fabrics. When the cost of various fabrics went out of the reach of the average masquerade band, we saw the development of what we tended to refer as the fancy type of presentations, which we now refer to as the contemporary creative masquerade presentations. Finally, coming into the 21st century, we saw a new trend begin to appear. The feather and beads, the all-inclusive, which we term the party band. So we are recommending, and we have recommended to the Carnival Development Corporation, that we feature these three streams of masquerade presentation in three different categories. Apart from that, our only request is that Mardi Gras, the final activity of the Vincy Mass, be returned to its former glory and splendor. And we are asking the CDC to ensure that the highest prize in Vincy Mass be that of the Band of the Year. And we wish that to be returned as it was between the years 2006 and 2013. As mentioned by the pan boss, we intend to fully cooperate and to join forces with the European movement in terms of elevating the standard of steel and glitter, panorama, and the sections from the band's competitions. And we will do so also as a means of making sure that these two competitions be returned to the status they once enjoyed in Vincy Mass. I want to congratulate and commend the president of the European movement and the president of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Calypsonians Association for being able, coming out of a pandemic, to have a competitive events in 2022. I do not believe that you, the members of the media, understand fully what it means that you're coming out of a time period when you were more or less locked down. And here it is, given a few short weeks to prepare. When you got the all clear to go ahead with a pre-pandemic style carnival, that these two gentlemen, along with their teams, were able to have a competition, panorama, and the National Calypso Monarch competitions. They must be highly commended for this achievement. In terms of mass, it would not have been possible, and it was not possible for us to stage a competitive production in 2022. Of course, we return this year to full stage competition. I want to mention that in the course of the pandemic, we lost two great stalwarts. Of course, not to the pandemic itself, but in the course of living, we die. And I want to remind you of those two stalwarts, two great mass men, Dr. Lennox Scully Hunt and Selwyn Fuzzy Knights. Great designers, great costume builders. Scully, in the latter years of his life, he put together two excellent costumes. Back in 2015, as I was discussing with the marketing officer, S.E. Roberts, sometime last week, the costume, which was King of the Bands 2015, an Eastern interlude. It came out of Adrenaline's production of an Eastern travelogue. That was his last creation of the King of the Bands costume. And it was easily his best. But in 2019, he did a design for SVG Players International, a Queen of the Bands called Spirobranchus giganticus, a Christmas tree worm, which was easily, far and away, the best Queen of the Band produced by Dr. Lennox Scully Hunt. Selwyn Fuzzy Nights dominated the old style fancy presentations. And during his years, he won 3 Band of the Year titles. And in those days, it wasn't an easy task for a fancy presentation to come and defeat at Mardi Gras those great historical presentations produced by Bridge Boys, produced by Winston Samo Samuel, and other stalwarts. Before he went into the contemporary creative bands, our good friend who departed this earth in 2008, Roy Ralph, he also made some fantastic historical presentations. So we lost Fuzzy and we lost Scully. We also lost Owen Ralph just before the pandemic broke. But we hope that somehow we would be able to prevent most of our young people from following a destructive type of trend that, just as the pan boss indicated, the pan and the mass would become an integral part of the school curriculum. We have to get this done. If we don't do it, we are going to lose what little we have left. We have lost a lot. We have lost plenty in terms of our calypso, in terms of our pan, and especially in relation to the masquerade component. I know that this government have a policy, but I do not know if the people in charge of the ministries fully understand the policy, or if they have intentions of carrying out that particular aspect of the cultural policy as enunciated over and over by Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves. And I want to publicly thank the comrade here today for meeting at short notice with the Carnival Bands Incorporated to ensure that we revive the concept of a mass bands complex. Hopefully, unlike our previous attempt, which failed due to factors beyond our control, the government's control, we hope that this time we'll be able to achieve the creation of a mass bands complex that will go further and set up a hall of fame for those who have contributed greatly to the development of culture in this country. Finally, I want to indicate that our mass bands have rallied. They have been launching their presentations, some online. And we are in the production stage. It is not easy, it's very difficult. Because, like everything else, the supply chain, the breaking of the supply chain has caused problems. It has created some difficulties for us to source certain types of materials. I had a conversation with the CDC's accountant last week, and we got to move swiftly to ensure that we get some linkage in order to make sure that we could produce mass in 2024. And we have to go all the way to China to ensure that that happens. As you may know, coming out of the pandemic last year, the CDC established a Carnival store, a project that was on the cards for many and many a year. It just didn't happen overnight. Mr. Ambrose, former chairman, that was one of his dreams. And I'm glad it was realized. Finally, I say that again, finally this time. Before I forget, you may have seen our costumes from some of our bands online. Last weekend, I was reminded by the marketing officer, Ezzy, that at the IPL, at our VPL final, the IPL is being played now, and I've been looking at some of the games. But the VPL, our bands made some appearances on Saturday. The SVG Players International, and on Sunday, it was the turn of Blondie Bird and Friends. Once we could put the costumes together, we'll be making more appearances. As I say, we have a little problem in terms of sourcing materials that we need. We don't have some of the materials downstairs, and we ain't going to get it out of Trinidad and Tobago this time. The late Nigel Graves. I have to mention Mr. Graves. He departed this earth sometime in 2022. But he was a friend of the Masquerade component. He was one of the directors of C.K. Graves and Company Limited. And over the years, he contributed to the production of several of the costume bands in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We want to acknowledge his contribution to us. And we hope that not only will C.K. Graves and Company Limited continue to assist costume bands, but that others in the private sector would follow his example and do the same. I couldn't stand here and come here today at this press conference without remembering Mr. Nigel Graves. And we also wish to thank all those who helped us during the dark days of the pandemic. First and foremost, the Carnival Development Corporation, the National Lotteries Authority, because 2 years there wasn't anything doing. And we had certain obligations and commitments elsewhere. And it was these two entities, the CDC and the National Lotteries Authority, that came to our assistance. So we have no problem in making sacrifices when called upon to do so. We have been doing so since we were known as the Carnival Band Leaders Association, all the way back in the 1960s. Yes, 60 years ago, there was an entity known as the Carnival Band Leaders Association. We're no fly-by-night organization. We've been here for a very long time and will continue to be here because we're going to ensure that we leave an organization behind for others to take up and follow, just as we took up the mantra from the early pioneers. All those who would have assisted us and helped, we're full of gratitude because we understand that we can't do it alone, we couldn't do it alone. We had to have had the assistance from various sources, including you members of the media. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Raggi, Chairman of the CBI. As I know, I don't recall indicating it, but you know, normally our first press conference, saying that we have to give so much information, always goes a bit long, right? At this point, we'll open up the floor for questions. I know there are persons who are gonna want clarifications, etc., etc. And the way we do this, we're gonna move all of these microphones over there, and we will shift them back and forth instead of the persons have to come here and answer questions. All right?
Okay, normally on the segment of things, we normally have calypso and some silver competition. So I hope that doesn't happen.
Well, we're still in discussion before we can make a final statement.
Okay, next. Thank you very much, President of the Carnival Association. You mentioned in this presentation that we have a judge auction this year. I myself are not a judge, but I would not go to one auction and say that I could be a judge. I want to judge. I would have to know why the Carnival Association doesn't do this. Probably a year before, let's see what you prepare for 2023, you did in 2022, and I have 2 or 3 or 4 workshops probably. So,
okay, ideally, that's how it ought to be, an ongoing program. When the absence of idealism, we have to have something. And we're not having something for the sake of having something. The way this is going to be structured, because none what you really have to do as a refreshers thing. How this is going to happen is that you're going to have an evaluation at the end. It's not that you come to a workshop, you are fed information, and then you come and see At the end, that evaluation will take the form of task calypsos. And you, with videos, and you judge, and the assessor judge whether or not you are efficient, you are competent enough. So it's not, you're not a judge by attending the workshop, like a school system. You could go to, you could be in the class, teacher teaching, and you learn nothing. The only way teachers can know is when they have their formative and their summative evaluations. So, well, because we're looking for skill set. Remember, we're not looking for somebody at empty vessel. We're looking for magicians. In fact, I'm happy you asked that. We have contacted and they have agreed the music teacher for Bethel High School, the music teacher for Bishop College High School, the music teacher for another school. Those are people who come with credentials. Those are people who basically could judge off the bat because they have all the skill set. They are musicians, they understand word and language and lyric. So you want to do is fine tuning. So not that you're taking somebody just like that randomly and say, come and judge. Hence the reason you'll be vetted. I am not saying by no such imagination that a man like you can judge him. But at least you know somebody without that skill set will need more work. And that's where exactly your format will come in. And it is important that you said it. Because you heard me in my presentation with all the answers. We are imperfect. We are fallible. And I'm happy that you asked that. But at least there will be a workshop. And the persons we are targeting in the short term right now are persons with skill set. And I've mentioned 3 persons: Ozzy from Bethel High School, Mrs. Culza Stevens from Bethel, and the other person is Zena Lewis. So, and there are others. And thank you for your question.
Market was relevant. I was here for your full potential, and then you mentioned what it was to stop for the lunch. Over the year that I found most of it was something. And I think it fell off. I don't know what we were doing different this year to improve on the annual. Well, with all the participation information fell off.
What we have for the whistle stops, right, is we have agreements from NBC Radio and BC3. They will be doing one area, while Extreme FM will be doing the other side. Those entities, apart from organizing the whistle stops in conjunction with the CDC, they will be promoting the whistle stops using their outlets, including social media.
Let me just somebody regional, we had one of the steps, promotion. So
All right. Thanks again for your contribution.
The alternative routes into the Caribbean or coming out of Europe. So Cal is going to be able to offer those connections. And of course, Trinidad, they would have their connections. They were already flying regionally. So they will, with their increased airlift capacity and their increased schedules into St. Vincent, we anticipate that would also improve the regional access. It open, etc., and saying welcome to the people who are not only physically there, but those who are following. But it would not be an extended formal program. It would be a limited formal program. But basically, we recognize that people are coming to enjoy themselves. So, yeah.
I want to just touch on the issue of rural carnivals. It was mentioned this morning that some attention will be put on security. I think some promoters have reached out to CDC and talking about the high price involved with security. I know that there are a couple of other events, like sort of a clean show or the security that you're referring to are to
private fest or private events during these rural carnivals, or is it security for all the events that has to do with a particular area?
When I made the statement, we were referring to our events or rural carnivals. Yeah, the private promoters have to make their own arrangements with the security forces.
Do you have any idea what the current cost is like? Or have they expressed this to you all, like what the cost generally is?
Well, we do know the cost per officer depends on the rank. Yeah, and after midnight it doubles. And that has created some pressures on the committees, paying the double. But that is something that is gazetted and we can't change it. We just have to negotiate and hope that, if maybe persons who are in the police force who live in the villages around, may offer their services freely instead of us having to pay. See, so it's things like that we have been in discussion with the police.
Yeah, and just for clarity's sake, it was mentioned Winwood Carnival. What areas make up Winwood
Well,
Carnival?
Winwood is from Bayabu, basically. Bayabu, Stubbs, those areas, South Winwood, up to North Winwood.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Right now for the grandfather question, I had originally reached out to Mr. Adams last week. On this one, there's a front page story at Moon Century newspaper last week of an issue growing up between soca artists and the CDC, where they making a couple of requests for this year's competition, including an increase in prize money, an increase in appearance fees, that sort of thing. I think up to the point where I was speaking to Mr. Johnson, that form, that letter had not officially been sent to you all. But can you say whether or not you have or have received a letter, or if you all at this point have gotten any word, or are you willing to see what is the CDC's stance on those requests from the
Okay, so let me begin by saying we have not received any correspondence. As I indicated to you last week, we had heard people had contacted us and said that this thing was coming. We have not received any official correspondence. One of the challenges that we had last year was in terms of the timeliness of payment of prize monies, in terms of the timeliness of payment to suppliers and vendors. We recognize that was a challenge. In fact, during the prize giving ceremony that we had, I had indicated that from our end we had apologized to the components for the delay in terms of the prize giving, but that the access to that funding really lay outside of our control at that point in time. I'm actually pleased to say that as it stands, not only have we paid that prize money, but we've been able to pay within the last few days the majority of the balance of the outstanding payments that we had to other vendors. And again, we've been personally reaching out to those persons. I personally have been apologizing to persons for the delay because it is not something we're comfortable with. It is not something that has been the norm over the last couple of years. We had worked very hard to be able to shorten the time frame in which we were able to settle our bills. Of course, last year threw us for a loop, and we recognize that. The intention this year is to be a lot more prudent in terms of how we're spending, payments are a lot more timely than they were last year. In terms of an increase in prize monies, we have not, and I don't see us being able to offer an increase in prize monies this year, because as we recognize, as I said, we just finished paying bills, and not even 100%. I would say 90-something% of the bills from last year, right? But what we've always said is that there are sometimes other avenues where we can assist in terms of offsetting costs, in terms of defraying expenses, in terms of helping people to generate additional revenue, right? So where we can do those, we will. But at this point in time, as we sit here, I can't say that we're in a position to increase prize monies. Of course, some wonderful sponsor may come on board and say, you know what, I'm going to directly contribute to a particular aspect of the carnival, and I want it to be a direct contribution towards prize monies. And then, we'll gladly accept that. But it is not something that we have budgeted at this point in time. I know we have some sponsors who are coming in to assist along those lines. Like, for instance, the Dynamite's Calypso tent has indicated that they will come on board and they will sponsor all of the trophies for the Junior Calypso shows. All right, so those kinds of things will assist us in being able to be a little bit more timely in terms of how we can make the payments and the contributions. There are some sponsors who will come in with non-cash prizes that may help to sweeten the pot per se. But in terms of the cash prize increases, I don't think as we sit here at this point in time that we're in a position to increase those. But again, we're always willing to speak to and listen to the components as they come. So whenever that letter does come, in whatever format it comes, we'll have a discussion.
People need to know is that the CDC has decided this year, because a lot of time people ignore the junior facet of almost anything in St. Grenadine and concentrate on the senior level. CDC has decided in their good judgment to award a bursary to the winners. So on add that.
So that speaks to the question of sweetening the pot without directly increasing price monies also.
Okay, seeing that there are no other questions, let me just get this thing started. Let me, on behalf of the Carnival Development Corporation, thank you all for coming and being part of our first press conference. For those who took it live, special thank you. For those in the diaspora who are carrying it live, we welcome you. So once again, let me say a special thank you. We look forward to you spreading the word. 6 May, we launch in Vincy Mass. Of course, when we come to a CDC press conference, we always ensure, well, I guess it's lunchtime anyway. We always ensure that you get a snack that would climax the whole setting. So once again, thank you very much. And Vincy Mass is definitely on. Thank you.